Delay carries a heaviness that settles quietly on the soul. You pray, you wait, you push, you believe, yet nothing shifts. Doors stay shut. Answers feel distant. The silence grows thick, pressing against your chest like an unspoken question. Something inside whispers that you are falling behind, that your moment has slipped through unseen cracks, that heaven heard everyone else but somehow missed you. This weight is real. This ache is familiar, and this season has tried to convince you that you have been forgotten. But the silence of heaven is not the absence of God. It is the shaping of God. It is the sacred stillness where motives are purified, where impatience is confronted, where the noise inside you quiets enough for his voice to rise. Delay is never empty. Silence is never wasted. What feels like inactivity is often the most intense activity in the realm you cannot see. You are not stuck. You are being prepared. The heaviness you feel is not a sign that your prayer failed. It is a sign that your prayer took root. Seeds do not sprout instantly. They disappear first. They descend into darkness. They break before they grow. This is the hidden part of the process that no one celebrates, but every destiny must endure. Heaven is not punishing you. Heaven is growing you. Heaven is aligning what you prayed for with the person you are becoming. Your heart has whispered questions in the night. Why is nothing moving? Why is the answer late? Why is this path taking so long? These questions do not expose rebellion. They expose longing. They expose hunger. They expose the part of you that refuses to settle for a surface life. And that longing itself is proof that you are not abandoned. Abandonment breeds numbness. Waiting shapes sensitivity. You would not feel this deeply if God were distant. You feel this deeply because God is involved. Every delay carries a message. Look closer. The silence is not rejection. The pause is not punishment. The stillness is not the end. There are blessings that would collapse if they arrive too soon. There are doors that will crush you if you walk through them unprepared. There are opportunities that require a stronger version of you than the version that prayed for them. Heaven is not withholding. Heaven is protecting. Heaven is preparing. Heaven is aligning every invisible detail with the future that was spoken over your life. You have not missed your moment. You have not fallen behind. You are not disqualified. Divine timing is not following your clock. Divine timing is shaping your character, stretching your endurance, deepening your roots, anchoring your identity. You cannot outrun what God appointed. You cannot be late to what God scheduled. What belongs to you cannot be handed to another. What was written for you cannot be erased by delay. This is the tension that molds greatness. The weight reveals what fast answers could never expose. It uncovers fears you did not know existed. It confronts the quiet belief that God must move on your timeline to prove he is faithful. It dismantles pride, comparison, resentment, and hidden expectations. It breaks the illusion that you are in control and births the strength that grows only in surrender. Waiting does not weaken your faith. Waiting trains your faith. Waiting transforms your faith. Waiting matures your faith until it can carry what prayer alone cannot. There is a purpose in the heaviness. There is meaning in the silence. You are not wandering. You are being formed, and the formation is divine. Your tears are not ignored. Your frustration is not rebuked. Your confusion is not condemned. Heaven does not despise your questions. Heaven uses them to draw you deeper. Every sigh is heard. Every whisper is noted. Every trembling hope is held by the one who sees the end from the beginning. Look at your life carefully. The areas that feel delayed are the very areas God is building most intentionally. The promises that seem slow are the promises that carry the greatest weight. The dreams that stretch you are the dreams that require a version of you shaped in stillness, not in speed. Heaven is not silent because nothing is happening. Heaven is silent because everything is happening. Your future is being arranged. Your steps are being ordered. Your path is being carved with precision that you will understand only when you look back. Stop interpreting silence as distance. Silence is mentorship. Silence is molding. Silence is evidence that God is closer than your emotions admit. He is not ignoring your prayers. He is walking beneath them. He is not delaying your breakthrough. He is fortifying you to sustain it. You are being strengthened for what you once thought you were ready to carry. You are being positioned for what you once begged to receive too early. You are being shaped for promises that require depth, not speed. This is not denial. This is divine architecture. This is not abandonment. This is alignment. What you call delay. Heaven calls preparation. What you call silence. Heaven calls strategy. You are not waiting for nothing. You are being ready for something that will not break you when it arrives. You are standing in the place where endurance is forged, where identity is anchored, where the weight of glory is prepared. Hold your ground. The silence is not the end. It is the shaping that ensures you can stand in the fullness of what is coming. There are seasons when nothing around you seems to move. Yet everything within you is being rearranged by the hand of God. Doors remain shut not because heaven is resisting you, but because heaven is preparing a path that must be aligned with precision. What looks like inactivity is often the deepest work of the Spirit, carried out in the hidden chambers of your life where no eye sees and no applause reaches. Behind closed doors, God is not delaying your destiny. He is crafting it. Every destiny requires a private construction zone. Before Joseph ever touched the palace, God shaped him in places where his name was not known and his gifts were not celebrated. Before David was ever crowned, God refined him in fields no one cared about. Before Esther ever approached the king, God fortified her in silence. Closed doors are not the end. They are the beginning of the truest work heaven performs on a soul that must carry weight without breaking. You have looked at your life and wondered why the access has not opened, why the opportunities have not multiplied, why the breakthroughs you prayed for seem held in place. But hear this clearly: when God shuts a door, He is not withholding your future. He is protecting your preparation. He is sealing you inside a season where your character can strengthen, where your discernment can sharpen, where your foundation can deepen enough to sustain what is coming. Closed doors refine motives. They expose impatience. They confront insecurity. They challenge the quiet belief that breakthrough must be visible to be real. They tear down pride and build humility. They remove reliance on applause and anchor your reliance on God. Nothing done behind a closed door is wasted. Nothing delayed in private is forgotten in heaven. Every unseen transformation is recorded as an investment toward your future. You have prayed for elevation, but elevation without formation becomes a collapse. You have asked for increase, but increase without depth becomes instability. You have cried out for opportunity, but opportunity without inner strength becomes pressure that breaks instead of builds. God closes doors not to limit you but to enlarge you, not to silence you but to strengthen you, not to deny you but to develop you until you can walk through the next open door without losing yourself. There are people you think you need. Heaven removed them. There are rooms you wanted access to. Heaven kept you out. There are timelines you tried to force. Heaven slowed you down. Because the version of you standing today is not the version that will carry what is being written over your future. Closed doors are training, preparation, refining. An invitation to become the person who can handle the promise without breaking under its weight. In this moment, pause and look within yourself. What has God been shaping behind your closed doors? What thoughts has He purified? What habits has He confronted? What desires has He realigned? What fears has He surfaced so He can heal them? The hidden work is often deeper than the public one, because destiny is not built in the spotlight. Destiny is built in silence. And now, I want to ask you something directly. Since this journey is not just information but transformation, what has this season revealed inside you? What is God touching? What is He calling you to adjust? What strength is He awakening in you behind the scenes? Your honesty before God is the soil where new things begin to grow. If this message is stirring something in you, if you feel the pull to grow, to shift, to surrender, to become, then let your voice be seen through one small act of courage. Comment, I am ready, or simply comment the number 1. That single moment tells me you are not just listening but responding. That you are choosing growth instead of delay. That you are stepping toward change instead of waiting for it to happen on its own. And it tells me something precious as well. It tells me that I'm not speaking alone. It tells me you are present, engaged, leaning in, walking this journey with me. As a creator, that presence means more than you know. It is a reminder that your hunger, your faith, your desire to grow, all of it matters. It shapes the words I speak and the atmosphere we build together. You are not here by accident. You are here because heaven is doing something behind the scenes of your life that requires your attention, your participation, your trust. The closed doors in front of you are not barriers. They are classrooms. They are sanctuaries. They are refining fires, preparing you for a future that has not yet unfolded. Every closed door is a message from God that says, let me finish what I started. Let me strengthen what is trembling. Let me deepen what is unstable. Let me mold what is still being formed. And when the appointed time arrives, the door that opens will not be one you fought for, begged for, or forced open. It will be a door no man can shut, because it was crafted for you long before you ever prayed for it. Stand firm in this preparation. Trust the silence. Respect the process. Honor the hidden seasons where heaven is building you in ways the world cannot see. What is forming behind closed doors will reveal a version of you that is stronger, clearer, wiser, deeper, and ready for everything written in your future. Your preparation is divine. Your process is intentional. And your next door will open in its time. Some moments are not planned by you. They are arranged for you. They are woven into the fabric of your journey long before you ever knew you would need them. This moment is one of them. A meeting orchestrated by the Spirit, positioned in the timeline of your life with precision greater than anything you could design. You did not land here by wandering. You arrived here by leading. There are encounters heaven prepares long before your heart recognizes their purpose. Encounters that interrupt cycles, break mental patterns, recalibrate vision, and lift the weight that has been pressing silently against your spirit. This is one of those encounters, a sacred appointment woven in the unseen, reaching you in the exact season where your strength feels stretched and your patience sits on the edge. Divine appointments do not shout. They whisper. They slip into the ordinary moments of your day, and suddenly something inside awakens. Something in the atmosphere shifts. Something in you recognizes that what you are hearing is not random. What you are sensing is not coincidence. What you are experiencing is not just content. It is alignment. It is God pulling you into a place where clarity flows and the fog begins to lift. Heaven-ordained moments always meet you at the intersection of your longing and God's timing. They carry the weight of purpose even when delivered in simplicity. They carry the fragrance of destiny even when wrapped in stillness. They carry the touch of God even when covered by everyday routine. Divine moments do not need drama to be powerful. They need alignment, hunger, and the readiness of a heart that has been searching for answers in silence. Look at the trajectory of your life. There are moments you stumbled into that later proved to be turning points. Moments that felt small at the time but shifted the direction of your path. Heaven has always been involved in your journey. Even when you felt like nothing made sense, this moment stands in that same category. Not loud, not forced, not dramatic, but intentional, strategic, appointed. The reason this moment matters so deeply is because it arrives at a time when you have been searching for reassurance, searching for a sign that you are not forgotten, searching for confirmation that God still sees the parts of you you do not talk about. The moments you do not share online, the silent frustrations you carry privately, the weight you hide under responsibility. Heaven saw all of it, and heaven scheduled this appointment accordingly. Sacred appointments often come right after seasons that almost broke you. Seasons where you question your progress. Seasons where you wondered if you took the wrong turn. Seasons where delays made you doubt your discernment. Seasons where you felt like life was running ahead without you. Yet in the unseen, God was guiding you toward a moment where clarity would be restored and weariness would lose its voice. This is that moment, a divine interruption, a pause filled with purpose. The Spirit placing you at the right point, at the right time, with the right message to steady your heart and anchor your faith again. Heaven never leaves you wandering without direction. Heaven never leads you into a season without preparing a voice to meet you in it. There are spiritual appointments that mark the soul. Encounters where God does more in a quiet moment than years of striving ever produced. Encounters where truth cuts through confusion and the weight you have carried for too long begins to loosen. In a sacred moment like this, clarity returns, perspective clears, the heart steadies, the spirit realigns, and suddenly you realize you were never waiting alone. You were being led into a moment where understanding could meet you. Heaven-ordained moments do not end at inspiration. They open the door to transformation. They call you to rise from the inside. They strengthen what has been weakening. They breathe life into what has been fading. They restore what exhaustion has drained. Behind every sacred appointment is a divine intention to heal, to redirect, to affirm, to rebuild, to breathe. There is a reason your spirit responds to this atmosphere. There is a reason you feel something awakening inside you. There is a reason your heart recognizes this moment even before your mind fully understands it. Heaven touches the deepest parts of you long before your logic catches up. The Spirit whispers to your roots, not your surface. You were brought here to remember something your soul has always known. God has not abandoned the work He started in you. God has not forgotten the promise you cried over. God has not overlooked the sacrifices you made in silence. God has not ignored the prayers you prayed when no one was watching. Heaven kept every moment. Heaven counted every tear. Heaven scheduled every alignment. This moment is more than content. It is confirmation. It is evidence. It is the proof that your journey is still under divine supervision. Nothing about your life is random. Nothing about your process is wasted. Nothing about your season is unnoticed. Heaven knows the exact moment to step in. And when heaven steps in, confusion loses its grip and hope finds its voice again. Stand inside this appointment with awareness. Respond to it with openness. Recognize it as a turning point. Because moments like this rarely come empty. They come carrying direction. They come carrying strength. They come carrying reassurance that the God who led you this far is still leading you now. A heaven-ordained moment is the intersection between your hunger and his timing. You have reached that intersection today, and from this moment, something within you will not remain the same. Every promise God births carries a schedule. Every vision he plants carries a timing. Habakkuk 2-3 reveals a truth that steadies the soul when circumstances try to shake conviction, for the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. These words carry a weight that breaks the fear of being forgotten and destroys the lie that delay means denial. An appointed time is not a suggestion. It is a spiritual appointment set in the calendar of heaven. It cannot be rushed by anxiety and cannot be slowed by resistance. It is held by the one who stands outside of time and yet governs every moment of your journey with precision. The vision is not drifting. The promise is not lost. The arrival has not been cancelled. It is simply moving according to alignment, not emotion. When Habakkuk wrote these words, he was confronting confusion. Nothing around him looked like what God had spoken. The environment contradicted the promise. The waiting felt longer than expected. The vision seemed distant, almost fading, yet heaven responded with clarity. Though it linger, wait for it. Those words do not excuse delay. They expose intention. God does not tell you to wait for something that is uncertain. He tells you to wait for something that is already secured. Delay is not evidence that the promise has weakened. Delay is proof that the foundation is being strengthened. If the vision arrived too early, it would collapse under the weight of unreadiness. If the door opened too soon, it would become more burden than blessing. If the opportunity came prematurely, it would stretch you beyond your capacity. The appointed time protects you from misalignment. It holds what you prayed for until you can steward it without breaking. Many times you have asked why the answer has not arrived, why the path has not cleared, why the breakthrough has not manifested. But the verse speaks to you with the same authority he spoke to the prophet. It will certainly come and will not delay. Not delay according to earthly expectations, but delay according to divine wisdom. You measure time by emotion. God measures time by purpose. What feels slow to you is right on schedule for him. Every season of waiting sharpens something within you. It tests your focus. It strengthens your patience. It trains your discernment. It purifies your motives. It confronts hidden fears. It exposes the fragile places that would crack under pressure. Waiting is a furnace that refines faith until faith becomes unshakable. Not the fragile belief that depends on quick answers, but the deep-rooted trust that knows God cannot lie and cannot fail. His word, Habakkuk 2-3, carries a quiet certainty. It speaks to the parts of you that feel tired, the parts that wonder if the promise slipped away, the parts that question if you misheard God, the parts that fear you missed your moment. The verse enters that tension with assurance. The revelation awaits an appointed time. It does not wander. It does not lose direction. It does not expire. It waits for the exact moment heaven has decided. Your vision is not sitting in confusion. It is waiting for its release. It is maturing while you are maturing. It is aligning while you are aligning. It is preparing to appear when the conditions inside you and around you match the weight of what God intends. Timing is not punishment. Timing is protection. Timing is strategy. Timing is heaven ensuring that what is given will not be lost. If you look at your journey, you will notice that every major breakthrough came at a moment you did not expect but later realized was perfect. Doors opened when you had no strength left to force them. Opportunities found you when you stopped striving. Provision arrived when pressure pushed you to the edge. Relationships aligned at the exact moment your maturity caught up with your calling. Heaven has always been precise, even when your emotions fought the process. The verse ends with a promise that dismantles fear. It will not prove false. This assurance destroys the thought that your vision was a mistake, that your dream was a misinterpretation, that your prayer was unrealistic. God does not give false visions. He does not plant false desires. He does not whisper empty promises. If he spoke it, it stands. If he planted it, it will grow. If he ordained it, it will arrive. You are standing in a season covered by the same truth Habakkuk held. What God has spoken over you has not changed. What he has promised you has not weakened. What he has prepared for you has not vanished. Every delay is serving a purpose. Every pause is protecting a future. Every moment of silence is aligning the unseen with the appointed hour. Let this settle within you. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being synchronized with divine timing. The vision is not waiting for convenience. It is waiting for alignment. When the appointed time arrives, it will unfold with a clarity that makes the waiting worth every moment. It will not be early. It will not be late. It will be exact. And when that moment comes, nothing will stop it. Nothing will hinder it. Nothing will stand against it. The appointed time carries a certainty that no opposition can break. What is written for you will meet you. What is destined for you will find you. What has been waiting for you will embrace you at the exact second heaven releases it. This verse is the anchor for your soul. The appointed time is not a hope. It is a guarantee, and the God who spoke it remains faithful to bring it to pass. There comes a point in every long season of waiting where the heart begins to ache in places. Words cannot reach. You pray, but the heavens feel quiet. You hope, but the silence grows thicker. You push forward, yet nothing moves. And slowly a fear begins to whisper that maybe you have been overlooked. Maybe others have been chosen ahead of you. Maybe your moment passed without warning. Waiting can disguise itself as rejection, and silence can feel like distance. But what you interpret as rejection is often the disguise of refinement. What feels like God stepping away is frequently God drawing closer in ways your emotions have not yet learned to recognize. The silence is not abandonment. It is the atmosphere where God does his deepest internal work. When everything becomes quiet on the outside, something begins to shift on the inside. Waiting exposes the cracks you hide, the fears you bury, the insecurities you try to ignore. It reveals what you truly believe about God when your prayers are not answered instantly. Rejection is one of the enemy's easiest lies to sow into silent seasons. It comes subtly, wrapped in comparisons, wrapped in questions, wrapped in timelines you created for yourself. It tells you that you are behind, that you missed your chance, that your value is measured by how quickly things change. But heaven does not operate on your deadlines. Heaven operates on transformation, and transformation takes time. God is never distant in seasons where you feel the ache of delay. He is closer than the ache itself. He leans into the questions you whisper at night. He watches over the tears you try to wipe before anyone notices. He stands inside the frustration that you are embarrassed to admit. If he felt distant, it is not because he walked away. It is because he is pulling you into depth. And depth always feels uncomfortable at first. Waiting feels like rejection when you measure progress by movement. But God measures progress by surrender. When he sees your patience growing beyond impatience, your trust rising above fear, your worship holding steady in uncertainty, he sees growth none of your emotions can measure. What feels still on the outside is often growing strong on the inside. Heaven is building you in places where applause cannot reach. There are moments when frustration rises and you wonder if God even hears you anymore. But look deeper. Your longing proves he is near. If he were far, you would not feel the ache. Distance makes the heart numb, not hungry. The fact that you still care is still hope. I still expect, still seek, is evidence of his nearness. Hunger is a sign of presence, not absence. Desire is a sign of connection, not distance. Waiting feels like rejection when you focus on the timeline. But shift your focus to the transformation and you will see a different story. You are becoming someone you were not before this season. You are developing resilience you never knew you needed. You are learning to trust without proof, believe without signs, and stand without guarantees. These are not small things. These are the qualities that shape destiny. Do not let silence convince you that God has stepped back. Silence is where he prepares your roots. Roots grow deep where no one sees. Roots break through hard soil before branches ever appear. If your life feels buried, it does not mean forgotten. It means God is building a foundation you will need later. You are not in rejection. You are in formation. And now I want to ask you something simple but sincere. Are you still here with me in this moment? Are you still following this journey? Are you still hungry for what heaven is forming inside you? If you are still here, let it be seen through one small gesture. Give this moment a like. Not for algorithm, not for applause, but as your way of saying, I am still standing, I am still listening, I am still believing. Your presence here matters more than you know. It tells me you have not given up on the process. It tells me you are willing to keep walking even when the path feels slow. It tells me that something in your spirit is still reaching for clarity. I'm still reaching for reassurance. It's still reaching for truth. As a creator, your presence is not just appreciated, it is honored. It allows these words to become a bridge between your heart and the promise God is shaping inside you. Feel this truth settle gently in your soul. You are not rejected. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. Heaven has not passed you by. Heaven has simply drawn you into a season where deeper work is unfolding. A season where God strengthens what used to break you. A season where God heals what used to control you. A season where God rebuilds what life tried to steal from you. What you call distance is a doorway. What you call delay is preparation. What you call silence is strategy. God is not ignoring you. He is shaping you in ways you will understand only when you carry what He's preparing. Waiting does not prove rejection. Waiting proves value. God does not invest time in someone He intends to abandon. He invests time in someone He intends to elevate. Stand steady. The silence is working for you. The waiting is forming you. And the God who feels distant is closer than your breath, shaping a future that will make this entire season make sense. Romans 8:25 gives shape to a kind of faith that does not collapse when answers take time. If we look forward to what we do not yet have, we must wait patiently and confidently. These words confront the tension between longing and delay. They expose the difference between faith that demands speed and faith that stands firm even when the future is hidden. Real faith does not panic when there is no sign. Real faith does not crumble when the answer is silent. Real faith holds its ground when visibility is low and emotions are unsteady. Confident waiting is not passive. It is strength concealed beneath stillness. It is stability wrapped in surrender. It is the decision to build your hope on what God has spoken, not on what life currently shows you. Patience in the kingdom is not weakness. Patience is warfare. It is the refusal to let fear rewrite your expectation. It is the quiet announcement that what God said is more real than what you see. You have waited through nights when your heart felt thin. You have prayed through frustration. You have endured seasons where everything inside you said, walk away. Yet something kept you anchored. Something kept you believing. Something kept you reaching. That something is the kind of faith Romans 8:25 describes. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep, steady, rooted, confident. Patient faith is one of the rarest expressions of trust because it requires you to release the illusion of control. It requires you to stop negotiating timelines with God. It requires you to surrender the urge to measure your progress against someone else's. It requires you to accept that waiting is not punishment. Waiting is the doorway through which your promise matures. Look at your own life. Every time God strengthened you, it happened in the wait. Every time he purified your motives, it happened in the wait. Every time he confronted your fears, it happened in the wait. Every time your vision sharpened, it happened in the wait. Waiting builds an inner architecture that instant answers cannot produce. Anything that arrives too quickly arrives too fragile. Anything that arrives prematurely arrives without roots. God uses time to build what pressure cannot destroy. Confidence in waiting comes from knowing who holds the outcome. If the promise depended on your strength, you would have reason to fear. If the answer depended on your perfection, you would lose hope. But the fulfillment depends on God, and he does not fail what he starts. Patient faith is not blind optimism. It is anchored expectation. It is the assurance that God's timing is not a delay but a strategy. There are moments when your spirit feels stretched between hope and disappointment. Moments when you rehearse the promises but the evidence looks faint. Moments when your heart whispers questions you are afraid to speak. But even in those moments, Romans 8:25 invites you to breathe, to wait, to trust, to stand in confidence even when your emotions feel uncertain. Confidence is not the absence of questions. Confidence is the refusal to surrender to doubt. The world around you worships immediacy. Everything must be instant, quick, smooth, fast. But spiritual maturity grows in places where speed cannot operate. You are being shaped for something that requires patience. You are being prepared for a future that cannot be rushed. You are being developed to hold the weight of blessings that require depth, not haste. Patient faith teaches you to live with expectancy without anxiety. Expectancy keeps you open. Anxiety keeps you frantic. Expectancy positions you to receive. Anxiety exhausts you before the promise arrives. Waiting with confidence means you do not crumble when the vision feels far. You do not lose your peace when timelines shift. You do not question your worth when progress seems slow. You remain steady. You remain rooted. You remain at rest in the truth that God is working in ways you cannot yet trace. This kind of faith transforms how you respond to other people's breakthroughs. Instead of feeling behind, you begin to understand that timelines are individualized. What is right for them now might be wrong for you now. What opened for them today may open for you at a moment that carries far more purpose than you imagined. Patient faith frees you from the trap of comparison. It allows you to celebrate without feeling threatened. It allows you to bless others while trusting your own path. Confident waiting turns you into someone who wakes up with quiet strength. Someone who prepares without panic. Someone who speaks blessings over a future that is still invisible. Someone who remains faithful even when evidence is small. Someone who keeps walking even when the road feels slow. This is the kind of believer God molds in seasons where nothing seems to be moving. As you stand inside your own waiting room, pay attention to what God is building. You are becoming steady. You are becoming clear. You are becoming anchored. You are becoming someone who can carry the very things you once felt unprepared for. Patient faith is not just about receiving the promise. It is about becoming the person who can sustain the promise. Romans 8:25 does not simply ask you to wait. It calls you to wait with confidence. Confidence that your life is not off track. Confidence that you are not late. Confidence that your future is not shrinking. Confidence that God is still orchestrating details you cannot see. Confidence that the promise is on schedule even when emotions fight the process. Stand inside this verse with strength. Let it settle into your spirit. Let it reframe your perspective. Waiting is not your weakness. Waiting is your training ground. Waiting is your sharpening place. Waiting is the soil where faith grows deep enough to hold what God is preparing. And when the moment comes, you will understand why the wait was necessary. The promise will arrive with a weight that makes every silent season make sense. Fear has a way of slipping into the quiet spaces of your heart when life does not move at the pace you hoped for. It whispers that you are behind. It convinces you that others are advancing while you remain still. It magnifies silence into abandonment and delay into failure. Fear thrives in uncertainty, feeding on every unanswered prayer and every timeline that seems stretched beyond your control. Comparison intensifies that fear. You scroll through moments of other people's breakthroughs, watching engagements, promotions, testimonies, celebrations, and victories unfold in front of you without realizing it. Your heart begins to measure your progress against someone else's highlight reel. You start to ask questions that bruise the soul. What about me? When is it my turn? Why does everyone else seem to be moving faster? These questions do not reveal jealousy. They reveal longing. They reveal hunger. They reveal a desire to see God move in your life with the same clarity you see in others. But comparison is a thief. It blinds you to the details of your own journey. It steals gratitude. It creates false timelines. It distracts you from the unique process God is using to shape you. The path of another person can never be the template for your destiny. Their timing is not your timing. Their pace is not your pace. Their breakthrough is not your benchmark. God does not write identical stories. He writes intentional ones. Each chapter unfolds according to who He is shaping you to become, not according to what others have received. Hidden anxiety builds in the shadows of these comparisons. It tells you that you need to rush. It convinces you to force what is not ready. It pressures you to chase doors that are not meant to open yet. Anxiety demands speed even when your spirit needs stillness. It pushes you toward decisions born from fear rather than wisdom. And when anxiety grows unchecked, it becomes a silent weight that drains your joy. is your energy and your confidence. This battle is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of humanity. It is the collision between your desire for progress and the divine timing God has set over your life. Waiting exposes the parts of your heart that rely on speed for reassurance. It reveals the areas where trust is still growing. It brings to the surface the insecurities you are buried beneath busyness or distraction. The moments where you feel the most anxious are often the moments where God is inviting you to anchor yourself deeper. Fear loses its power when confronted with truth. And the truth is that your journey has not fallen behind. Nothing about your life is out of order. God is not late. God is not confused. God is not overwhelmed by your timeline. He knows the precise moment to open the door, the exact second to shift the season, in the perfect time to release the promise. Fear lies by magnifying the moment. Faith prevails by magnifying the one who controls the moment. Comparison fades when you remember that God sees you individually. He is not dividing blessings based on who reaches him first. He is not rewarding people randomly. He is crafting each story with intention, shaping each life according to purpose, and releasing each breakthrough according to perfect alignment. You are not overlooked. You are not invisible. God has been involved in every hidden detail of your process, even when no one else noticed. Hidden anxiety dissolves when you surrender the pressure to perform. You are not responsible for forcing your future. You are responsible for staying aligned, surrendered, and faithful. Anxiety often comes from the belief that everything depends on your effort, but breakthrough depends on divine orchestration. You do not need to carry the weight of making everything happen. You are called to trust the one who knows exactly how to weave your steps together. There are moments when fear rises because your vision is bigger than your current reality. That is normal. It means you are walking in faith, not comfort. Faith will always stretch you beyond what feels manageable. It will always lead you where certainty cannot. It will always challenge every fear that tries to shrink your potential. Growth requires discomfort. Transformation requires tension. And waiting requires courage. The courage you are developing in this battle is not wasted. Every time you refuse to let fear dictate your decisions, you strengthen your spiritual spine. Every time you resist the urge to compare, you reclaim your identity. Every time you breathe through anxiety instead of rushing into panic, you step deeper into maturity. These victories may seem small, but they are building the version of you that will stand strong when the door finally opens. This battle is not the end of your story. It is the preparation before the unveiling. You are being refined in ways that will sustain your future. You are learning to trust even when trust requires patience. You are learning to rest even when rest feels risky. You are learning to wait without losing hope, to believe without needing signs, to stay grounded even when your heart feels stretched. Fear may speak, but it will not define you. Comparison may tempt you, but it will not lead you. Anxiety may rise, but it will not rule you. You are being strengthened from within. You are being anchored beyond emotion. You are being prepared for a future that requires confidence, clarity, and spiritual resilience. Walk through this battle knowing that every struggle is shaping you. Every tension is teaching you. Every question is refining you. And every moment of waiting is forming a depth inside you that will hold the weight of the blessing when it finally arrives. You are not losing. You are growing. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not falling behind. You are being aligned. James 1-3 and 1-4 reveal a truth many resist, but every believer must confront. The testing of your faith produces steadfastness. and steadfastness must finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. These words carry a depth that only becomes clear when life places you in seasons where answers are slow. Pressure is constant and progress feels invisible. Endurance is not formed in comfort. Endurance is formed in resistance. Spiritual endurance is the strength that grows when God does not move at your expected speed. It is the internal fortitude that develops when prayers seem unanswered and timelines stretch beyond what feels bearable. When your faith is tested, something begins to shift inside you. The superficial layers fall away. The fragile parts are exposed. The deeper compartments of your heart awaken. Testing does not weaken faith. Testing purifies faith until it becomes unshakable. James does not describe endurance as optional. He describes it as essential. Steadfastness must finish its work. In other words, there are parts of your destiny that cannot be reached without pressure. There are chambers of your potential that only open under weight. There are aspects of your character that only mature when life presses you past your comfort zone. Endurance is the bridge between promise and fulfillment. Without it, blessings become burdens and breakthroughs become unstable. Look at your life. The moments that shaped you most were rarely the moments of ease. They were the seasons where you felt stretched, challenged, delayed, or overlooked. The seasons where you had to trust without clarity, persevere without confirmation, and stand when standing felt difficult. These are the seasons that built your resilience. They taught you how to breathe through uncertainty. They taught you how to hold your peace in chaos. They taught you how to walk by conviction instead of visibility. Endurance forms when God allows you to remain in a situation longer than your emotions prefer. This extended space forces you to confront impatience. It reveals the places where fear still negotiates with your faith. It exposes the false timelines you created in your mind. And slowly, the Spirit begins to strengthen the very areas that once made you retreat. You become wiser. You become steadier. You become anchored. James emphasizes that endurance produces maturity. Maturity is not measured by how loudly you speak about faith. Maturity is measured by how quietly you trust when nothing looks certain. It is the ability to remain rooted when circumstances shake. It is the discipline to hold on to the promise without demanding immediate results. It is the strength to stay aligned even when emotion tries to pull you in every direction. Endurance also leads to completeness. This completeness is not perfection. It is stability. It is spiritual solidity. It is the kind of inner strength that does not crumble under pressure. It is the confidence that withstands delays without interpreting them as abandonment. It is the clarity that remains firm even when external progress is slow. When endurance completes its work, you become someone who cannot be moved easily, someone who does not collapse under disappointment, someone who walks with strength no matter how long the journey becomes. Think about the areas where God has stretched you. Some of those seasons felt unnecessary, some felt heavy, some felt confusing. Yet now you can see how they shape parts of you that would have remained undeveloped without the pressure. You learn to forgive more deeply. You learn to believe more strongly. You learn to worship with sincerity. You learn to trust beyond your understanding. These are fruits that only grow in seasons of endurance. The formation of endurance is rarely comfortable, but it is always intentional. God does not waste pain. God does not waste waiting. God does not waste silence. Every delay and every test is part of the molding process. It strips away dependence on circumstances and builds dependence on Him. It transforms fragile faith into durable faith. It teaches you how to stand even when standing requires effort. Endurance also prepares you for blessings that carry responsibility. Many pray for elevation, but elevation without endurance becomes instability. Many desire increase, but increase without inner strength becomes pressure that crushes instead of strengthens. God uses testing to prepare you for what you have prayed for. He uses waiting to shape who you must become before the next door opens. In seasons of endurance, if you learn how to breathe through disappointment, you learn how to guard your heart from discouragement, you learn how to silence the noise of comparison, you learn how to trust the timing of God even when your emotions argue against it. You learn how to carry hope without letting impatience erode your faith. James reminds you that every test is producing something. Even when you feel tired, even when you feel stretched thin, even when progress seems slow, there is a work unfolding inside you that is far more valuable than the speed of your breakthrough. The strength being formed in you now will anchor you in future seasons that demand stability. The patience God is building will protect you from rushing into doors that are not meant for you. The clarity He's developing will help you discern opportunities that look good but are not aligned with your purpose. Allow steadfastness to finish its work. Do not rush out of the process prematurely. Do not despise the slow seasons where God is fortifying your roots. What is being developed in you is preparing you for what is being prepared for you. When the time comes, you will not only receive the blessing, you will be able to sustain it. You will carry it with strength. You will walk in it with maturity. And you will see that endurance was not a delay. It was a foundation. Some promises require a version of you that does not exist yet. Not because you are unworthy, but because the weight of what God intends to place in your hands demands strength, clarity, maturity, and depth. A promise is not only about fulfillment, it is about transformation. Before God gives you what is yours, He shapes you into someone who can carry it without breaking under the responsibility it brings. You have prayed for open doors, but doors that open too soon can crush a person unprepared. You have asked for elevation, but elevation without foundation becomes instability. You have sought acceleration, but acceleration without character becomes collapse. God is too wise to release something that will overwhelm you. He prepares the vessel before He pours the blessing. He strengthens the shoulders before He releases the weight. Becoming the person who can carry the promise begins in the unseen. It begins with refining motives. It begins with confronting insecurities. It begins with healing wounds that have been ignored for too long. God walks in the hidden layers of your heart long before He manifests the visible outcome. He shapes integrity where no one is watching. He forms discipline where no applause exists. He develops wisdom in the quiet places where only He can see the growth. The waiting you experience is not denial. It is construction. Every delay has been building something inside you. Patience, resilience, discernment, strength. These qualities are not formed in moments of ease, but in seasons where you had to trust without clarity. They grow when you choose obedience, even when it feels difficult. They mature when you refuse to quit, even when your emotions beg for relief. The person who can carry the promise is shaped by consistent surrender. Every time you release control, you grow. Every time you choose faith over fear, you grow. Every time you silence the voice of comparison, you grow. Every time you choose character over convenience, if you grow, this growth is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is steady. It is persistent. It happens in the fibers of your soul where transformation is real and lasting. Consider the weight of the promise you carry in your spirit. Some of the things you prayed for are not light. They require capacity. They require emotional stability. They require spiritual depth. They require the ability to steward influence with humility, manage opportunity with integrity, and handle increase without ego, without character. Blessing becomes a trap without maturity. Breakthrough becomes a burden. God builds the internal before he releases the external. There is a version of you God sees that is stronger than your current limitations. There is a version of you that stands with clarity, not confusion, with stability, not fear, with conviction, not uncertainty. Every season of stretching has been pulling you closer to that version. Every disappointment has been shaping your discernment. Every closed door has been teaching you patience. Every silent answer has been strengthening your resolve. Becoming the person who can carry the promise requires the courage to let go of what no longer aligns with your future. Old habits, old mindsets, old relationships, old fears. Growth is not only about what God adds to you, it is also about what God removes. He strips away what weakens your capacity. He pulls out what distracts your purpose. He exposes what could sabotage your future. This pruning is not punishment. It is preparation. You are not being stretched to break. You are being stretched to expand. The pressure you feel is not a sign of failure. It is the evidence of growth. Seeds break before they bloom. Diamonds form under pressure. Oil flows only after crushing. The process that feels painful now is shaping a strength that will protect your destiny later. Many want the promise but resist the transformation. But the promise is not separate from the process. They are tied together. You are not waiting for a moment. You are being built for a moment. When that moment arrives, it will require the version of you that has learned to stand firm, to think clearly, to discern wisely, and to trust completely. Look at the progress you have made. You are not who you were last year. You are not who you were 5 months ago. You are carrying wisdom that was not there before. You are standing with faith that has grown deeper. You are walking with clarity that once felt impossible. Growth is happening even when you cannot measure it day by day. Heaven sees what you cannot see. The promise God has spoken over your life is not fragile. It is steady. It is protected. It is waiting for the fullness of time. And when that time arrives, you will not be overwhelmed by what God releases. You will be ready for it. You will be able to hold it. You will be able to steward it. You will recognize that every season of refinement prepared you for the moment when fulfillment meets maturity. You are not being delayed. You are being shaped. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. You are not being sidelined. You are being strengthened. And when God brings the promise into manifestation, you will step into it not as the person who began this journey, but as the person who was crafted to carry it fully. The promise is real. The process is necessary. And the person you are becoming is the proof that you are closer to fulfillment than you realize. Ecclesiastes 3:11 holds a truth that breathes life into weary seasons. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Not before its time. Not outside its time. In its time. These words carry a depth that calms the heart and dismantles the belief that beauty is lost when life does not move according to your expectations. Beauty is not withheld. Beauty is arranged. It unfolds according to a schedule designed by a God who sees the full picture, not just the moment you are standing in right now. Your life may not look beautiful. It may look scattered, unfinished, or stretched thin. There are pieces that feel out of place, events that feel confusing, and moments that feel unfair. But beauty is not measured by what you currently see. Beauty is measured by what God is weaving behind the scenes. He threads purpose through seasons that look chaotic. He brings clarity out of situations that once felt overwhelming. He gathers fragments and forms something meaningful from pieces that once seemed broken. Beauty is often hidden in timing. There are things that would look ordinary or even painful if they arrived early. There are breakthroughs that would feel overwhelming if they came before your heart was ready. There are opportunities that would become burdens if they were handed to you before your character matured. God protects beauty by protecting timing. He releases the fullness of a moment only when the moment can carry blessing instead of pressure. Consider the way seasons flow in nature. Nothing blooms out of season without paying a cost. A flower forced open too early is fragile. A tree that sprouts before the frost ends will wither. In the same way, God shields you from premature openings. He will not let your destiny bloom before the roots are deep enough. He will not let your promise unfold before your spirit is strong enough to hold it. His timing is not slow. His timing is compassionate. It saves you from collapse disguised as blessing. He has made everything beautiful in its time. This means there is a future version of your current confusion that will make sense. There is a future clarity hidden inside your present questioning. There is meaning woven into moments that once made you cry. Nothing in your journey is wasted. Every season is written with intention. Even the ones you try to escape. You may only see knots and tangled strings now, but God sees a tapestry forming. Look at your life carefully. There are events you once prayed to escape that later became the very foundation of your strength. There were doors that closed painfully but saved you from deeper wounds. There were people who left and their absence created space for growth you did not know you needed. There were delays you hated that later protected you from choices that would have trapped you. God's timing never makes sense at the beginning. It becomes beautiful at the unveiling. Beauty is not just in what God brings. Beauty is in when He brings it. The timing of a thing determines the value of a thing. A blessing given too soon can feel like a burden. A promise revealed too early can feel like pressure. A dream activated before maturity can become a downfall. But when it comes in His timing, it arrives with grace instead of strain, clarity instead of confusion, and peace instead of panic. This is why God sometimes holds you in a season longer than you expected. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Not to delay your joy, but to deepen your capacity. Not to leave you waiting, but to ensure you are not overwhelmed by what comes next. What looks like stagnation is often God strengthening your roots. What looks like waiting is often God positioning circumstances around you. What looks like silence is often God aligning hearts, places, and opportunities for a perfect intersection. There is a rhythm to divine timing that your emotions cannot detect. You feel delay, but God feels alignment. You feel stuck, but God feels preparation. You feel forgotten, but God feels orchestration. The beauty of His timing is that it always arrives at the precise moment when everything inside you and everything around you converges with purpose. And when that moment comes, the beauty will not be subtle. It will be undeniable. When God brings something into your life in its time, it fits, it settles, it aligns, it carries peace, it carries certainty, it carries the fragrance of grace. You do not have to force it. You do not have to chase it. You do not have to manipulate it. Beauty does not require striving. It requires surrender. When the time is right, beauty finds you. There is also a beauty in who you are becoming during the waiting. You are growing in ways you could not have imagined. You are developing resilience, wisdom, patience, humility, and discernment. These are not small things. These are the qualities that allow you to carry future blessings without losing yourself. God is not only preparing the promise for you, He's preparing you for the promise. Allow this truth to settle deeply. What you see right now is not the final picture. What feels unfinished will be completed. What looks messy will be restored. What feels painful will be redeemed. He has made everything beautiful in its time, not in your time, not in someone else's time, in its time. And when that time comes, beauty will rise from places that once felt barren. Meaning will emerge from seasons that once felt confusing. Strength will bloom from moments that once felt breaking. God's timing will reveal that nothing in your life was wasted, and every piece mattered more than you knew. Isaiah 60:22 speaks with a quiet authority that settles every anxious thought. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. This single sentence dismantles pressure, removes striving, and silences the fear that you must carry your destiny with your own hands. What God intends to do in your life does not depend on your speed, your strength, or your perfection. It depends on divine intervention. And divine intervention arrives right on time. When the time is right, these words hold the weight of heaven. They reveal that there is a moment written into your future where what seemed impossible becomes inevitable. A moment where delays break. A moment where prayers manifest. A moment where burdens lift. A moment where the hand of God moves through your circumstances with precision that no human effort could ever produce. God does not need perfect conditions to intervene. He creates perfect conditions. He does not wait for everything to align. He aligns everything himself. Divine intervention is not simply help. It is divine orchestration. It is God stepping into the timeline of your life and rearranging what you could not shift. It is God touching what was stuck, opening what was closed, breaking what resisted, and revealing what was hidden. What once felt heavy suddenly feels possible. What once felt delayed suddenly moves quickly. What once required striving suddenly flows with ease. When God steps in, the natural order bends to the command of the supernatural. Doors open that were locked for years. Battles end without explanation. Opportunities find you without your effort. Provision appears without your planning. This is the power of the one who said, I will make it happen. There are things you have tried to force in your own strength. You pushed doors that will not move. You chased opportunities that refused to settle. You attempted to create what only God could manifest. The frustration you felt was not failure. It was mercy. Mercy stopping you from building something by force that was meant to arrive by timing. Mercy protecting you from entering a season that was not ready. Mercy guiding you into a rhythm that aligns with divine intervention instead of human pressure. When the time is right does not mean when you are ready. It means when the purpose is ready, when the environment is ready, when the path is ready, when the hearts involved are ready, when the alignment reaches its fullness. God sees every detail that must converge before the promise can manifest. You only see desire. He sees the entire design. This verse also reveals something about the character of God. I, the Lord, will make it happen. Not you, not your effort, not your connections, not your plans. Breakthrough is not earned. Breakthrough is released. It comes from the one who formed the stars, split the seas, and breathed life into dust. If he can orchestrate creation, he can orchestrate your future. There is no enemy strong enough to disrupt his timing. There is no delay powerful enough to cancel his word. There is no circumstance complex enough to confuse his plan. When he decides to intervene, everything that was resisting you loses its voice. Every wall that stood before you breaks. Every delay that frustrated you dissolves. Every obstacle that tried to intimidate you crumbles. Divine intervention does not negotiate. It commands. Some of the things you prayed for have not happened yet because the time was not aligned with purpose. If they arrived earlier, they would have demanded strength you did not yet carry. They would have exposed wounds you had not yet healed. They would have required wisdom you had not yet learned. Delay was not rejection. Delay was protection. Delay was preparation. Delay was divine timing unfolding in silence. There will come a moment where everything you endured will make sense. Where the pressure you carried will reveal its purpose. Where the silence you felt will show its strategy. Where the delays you fought will prove to be alignment. Divine intervention always arrives with clarity. It rewrites disappointment. It redeems lost time. It restores what was broken. It elevates what seemed small. It reveals how closely God has been weaving your story even when you thought he was distant. Isaiah 60:22 removes the weight of striving. You do not need to exhaust yourself trying to force open what God has not opened. You do not need to live in panic wondering if you missed your moment. You do not need to compare your pace to someone else's. When the time is right, heaven moves. And when heaven moves, you do not need to push. You simply step into the opening created by the hand of God. There is a kind of peace that flows from this truth. A peace that quiets your racing thoughts. A peace that steadies your heart. A peace that anchors you in the certainty that your future is not fragile. It is held securely in the hands of the one who said, I will make it happen. Nothing can hinder what God has ordained. Nothing can steal what God has preserved. Nothing can block what God has decreed. Every season of waiting has been guiding you toward the exact moment where divine intervention will meet you. A moment where the invisible becomes visible. A moment where the promise becomes reality. A moment where everything aligns effortlessly because the one who governs time steps into your timeline. Hold this truth inside you. When the time is right, the shift will come. The change will manifest. The breakthrough will unfold. Not through striving, through divine intervention. And when it happens, it will carry a signature only heaven can write. Waiting is often misunderstood because it feels like stillness on the outside. But in the kingdom, waiting is movement. It is a process where God rewires what is weak, strengthens what is trembling, and removes what cannot move with you into the next season. Waiting is not an empty pause. Waiting is a strategic appointment. It carries purpose. It carries intention. And it carries a depth of refinement that cannot be replicated in any other season of life. Protection is woven into every moment of waiting. There were doors you wanted to walk through that God kept shut. Not because you lacked faith, but because the environment behind that door was not prepared to handle you. There were relationships that seemed promising but dissolved unexpectedly. There were opportunities that slipped away. There were timelines that shifted without warning. These were not coincidences. They were shields. Shields God placed around you to keep you from stepping into places that would have drained you, damaged you, or delayed you more severely than waiting ever could. Sometimes God protects your future by slowing your present. The delay you fought so hard against saved you from wounds you could not see coming. The pause you resented prevented you from entering seasons that were not aligned with your calling. What you call delay, heaven calls defense. God has been guarding what belongs to you. Sometimes from people, sometimes from circumstances, and often from the parts of yourself that were not ready yet. But waiting is not only protection. Waiting is process. It is the careful unfolding of lessons that strengthen you for what you have been praying for. God does not rush the shaping of a destiny. He cultivates it. He carves it. He chisels it with precision. Process is slow because formation takes time. You cannot build depth quickly. You cannot form wisdom overnight. You cannot mature character through shortcuts. Every day you remain in the waiting room, something inside you is being strengthened by the hand of God. This process is intentional. It is God confronting the areas that will sabotage your future. Pride that would have destroyed relationships, impatience that would have led to wrong decisions, fear that would have forced you into smaller opportunities, insecurity that would have kept you from stepping boldly into open doors. Without process, promise becomes fragile. With process, promise becomes sustainable. Waiting also holds refinement. Refinement is the purifying fire that removes the residue of past seasons. It exposes what is unhealthy. It reveals what must be surrendered. It surfaces hidden motives. It challenges every place where trust has been shallow. Refinement feels uncomfortable because it forces you to see yourself honestly. You cannot hide behind excuses in the refining season. Everything rises to the surface so God can transform it. There are habits he needed to break. There are mindsets he needed to shift. There are emotions he needed to heal. There are beliefs he needed to rebuild. Refinement is not punishment. It is preparation. It is God ensuring that when the promise arrives, you do not carry the wounds of yesterday into the opportunities of tomorrow. Refinement transforms you from the inside out, so you are not just ready for the blessing, but capable of sustaining it. When you look back at the seasons that shaped you most, they were never the easy ones. They were the seasons that stretched your patience, confronted your fears, and demanded endurance. There were seasons where God did not allow you to move quickly because he was building strength. You did not know you needed. Waiting seasons are like spiritual workshops. You enter feeling unfinished, but you leave shaped, sharpened, and strengthened. Protection, process, and refinement work together. Protection guards you from what could break you. Process develops what you will need to carry your calling. Refinement purifies what would weaken your foundation. Together they create a version of you that can stand in places you once only prayed for. God is not slow. He is thorough. He is not withholding. He is preparing. He is not ignoring. He is refining. If you could see the future God has written for you, you would thank him for every delay. You would appreciate every closed door. You would understand why certain things could not happen sooner. Timing is not simply about arrival. Timing is about readiness. God does not release promises when you are impatient. He releases them when you are steady. He does not open doors when you are anxious. He opens them when you are aligned. Waiting seasons test your heart but strengthen your spirit. They stretch your faith but anchor your identity. They slow your pace but deepen your trust. They feel quiet but they are full of movement. You are being trained to walk by conviction instead of evidence. You are being shaped into someone who can hold the weight of a future that is bigger than you imagine. Protection kept you safe. Process made you strong. Refinement made you whole. And when God finishes all three, the promise that comes next will not overwhelm you. It will fit you It will settle into your hands with peace. It will align with your steps effortlessly. Waiting is not the delay of destiny. Waiting is the architecture of destiny. Every moment is forming the person who will walk boldly into the fulfillment written over your life. Surrender is not the absence of desire. It is the alignment of your will with the wisdom of God. It is the moment you release timelines, pressures, and expectations into hands that see further than your vision and deeper than your emotions. Surrender is not weakness. It is strength that refuses to be controlled by fear. It is a declaration that you trust the God who authors your story more than you trust the pace of the journey. Trust grows in the places where certainty fades. When answers are slow and silence lingers, a trust becomes the anchor that keeps your heart from drifting into doubt. Trust is formed when your plans unravel, but your faith refuses to collapse. It is the quiet strength that whispers. God is still working. Even here, even now, even when nothing looks the way you imagined. Trust does not guarantee clarity. Trust guarantees stability. It anchors you in the truth that God cannot fail the work He has begun in you. Inner transformation begins at the intersection of surrender and trust. When you release control, God begins to reshape the deepest parts of your character. He touches the places hidden beneath the surface. He heals wounds you learn to manage. He exposes fears you try to silence. He confronts patterns that sabotage peace. Transformation is not just about changing behavior. It is about renewing motives, rebuilding identity, and restoring the parts of your heart that were shaped by old pain. This prayer is not spoken with fear. It is spoken with clarity. It begins with a heart aware of its frailty, yet confident in God's strength. Father, I surrender the weight I've been carrying, the timelines I created, the expectations I held, the silent pressures that press heavily on my spirit. I place them all in your hands, not to abandon responsibility, but to acknowledge that what you build lasts longer than what I force. You see the end from the beginning. You see, the path I cannot trace. You hold the details I cannot understand. So I release what was never mine to control. Strengthen my trust when my emotions become unsteady. Teach me to hold faith even when answers seem far. Give me grace to wait without fear and to hope without anxiety. Let trust become the lens through which I interpret every season of my life. When I cannot see movement, let me see your consistency. When I cannot feel progress, let me feel your presence. Trust is not a feeling, it is a posture. Shape my spirit to stand in that posture daily. Transform me from within. Touch the places I do not talk about but carry silently. Heal the memories that still echo with pain. Lift the shadows that linger in the corners of my thoughts. Break the patterns that interrupt my peace. Remove the residue of old disappointments. Purify the motives that subtly drift toward fear. Create in me a heart that aligns with your rhythm, your timing, and your purpose. Teach me how to surrender without resistance. Teach me how to trust without hesitation. Teach me how to rest without fear of falling behind. Every part of this process is shaping me. Every moment of waiting is preparing me. Every delay is refining me. You are forming a version of me that can stand confidently in the promises you have spoken. Father, let this moment be a turning point inside me. Let the surrender in my spirit become deeper than the uncertainty I face. Let trust rise higher than every unanswered question. Let transformation take root in places I never allowed you to touch before. I open my inner world to you. I choose healing where I once chose hiding. I choose growth where I once chose comfort. I choose surrender where I once chose control. Cover my mind with peace. Guard my heart from discouragement. Steady my thoughts when doubt tries to creep in. Let your presence be the environment in which my spirit breathes. Let your word shape the way I see my future. Let your truth break the lies that whisper that I am behind or forgotten. You have never lost sight of me. You have never abandoned your work in my life. You remain faithful even when I feel fragile. Transform me until surrender becomes natural. Transform me until trust becomes instinct. Transform me until peace becomes my constant companion. Transform me until fear loses its voice. Transform me until I no longer chase outcomes but stay aligned with your purpose. Lord, lift the weight of worry from my chest. Replace it with the strength of your assurance. Lift the heaviness of uncertainty from my mind. Replace it with clarity shaped by your presence. Lift the impulse to force outcomes. Replace it with the confidence that what you have ordained will come in its appointed time. This is not just a prayer of release. It is a prayer of becoming. It is a prayer that shifts the atmosphere of the heart. It is the beginning of a transformation that unfolds beyond this moment. Surrender is the soil where trust grows. Trust is the foundation where identity is rebuilt. And transformation is the fruit that emerges when both surrender and trust take root deeply within you. You are being reshaped. You are being steadied. You are being renewed, not by pressure, not by striving, but by the quiet work of God in the depths of your spirit. And as that work unfolds, the person you are becoming will be ready for everything God is preparing to reveal. Faith grows stronger when it is anchored in remembrance. Testimony becomes a weapon against doubt, and memory becomes a shield against fear. The moments where God intervened in your past were never meant to be forgotten. They were meant to be gathered, held, and drawn upon in seasons when your heart feels stretched. What he has done before is the evidence that he's still moving now. Think back carefully. There were moments you did not know how you would make it through. Moments where strength failed. Moments where hope dimmed. Moments where solutions were nowhere in sight. Yet provision came. Encouragement appeared. A door opened. A burden lifted. Peace arrived in a way that felt almost unnatural. Those were not coincidences. Those were fingerprints of a God who has been walking with you longer than your memory can trace. Every testimony you carry is a reminder that God's faithfulness did not start with your current struggle and will not end with it. Testimony is the history of his consistency. It is the record of his reliability. It is the evidence that your story has always been under divine supervision. When fear tries to rise, testimony speaks louder. When discouragement tries to settle, memory pushes back. When doubt tries to cloud your spirit, remembrance clears the atmosphere. Memory is not just recollection. Memory is spiritual warfare. It lifts your eyes from what is lacking to what has already been provided. It shifts your focus from delay to evidence. It reminds your spirit that God has never once abandoned you, even in the seasons where his presence felt quiet. The same God who carried you through your past valleys will carry you through your present uncertainty. Community strengthens this process. You were never designed to stand alone in your battles. Faith was meant to be shared. When you hear the testimonies of others, something inside you awakens. Their breakthrough becomes a mirror of possibility. Their deliverance becomes a preview of what God can do in your life. Their restoration becomes proof that your wait is not in vain. God often uses the stories of those around you to speak courage into the places of your heart that feel tired There is healing in being surrounded by people who understand what it means to trust through tears and believe through silence. Community is not just conversation. It is spiritual connection. It is encouragement that pushes back the heaviness of isolation. It is unity that strengthens what loneliness tries to weaken. When hearts align, hope rises. When voices unite, fear loses ground. When testimonies are shared, faith multiplies. Testimony, memory, and community form a threefold cord that cannot be easily broken. Testimony reminds you of who God has been. Memory reminds you of what God has done. Community reminds you that you are not walking alone. These three forces work together to strengthen faith during seasons that test endurance. They create an atmosphere where discouragement cannot dominate and fear cannot dictate decisions. Reflect on the testimonies that shaped you. A moment of unexpected provision, a relationship restored, a time when peace washed over you without explanation, a night when a single word, a song, or a verse lifted a weight from your spirit. These encounters are anchors. They root your trust in something deeper than emotions. They remind you that God has a pattern. He rescues, He restores, He responds. Your memory is a storehouse of clarity. Every breakthrough you have witnessed, both in your life and in the lives of others, becomes evidence for the next step of your journey. When the present feels uncertain, reach into the past and pull out what is true. God does not abandon stories mid-chapter. He continues them. He fulfills them. He completes what He began. Community is also a gift in the waiting season. When you connect with others who understand the walk of faith, if your spirit finds strength, shared stories create shared resilience. The prayers of others carry you when your own voice feels tired. The encouragement of others lifts the heaviness you try to carry alone. Community weaves together faith from different lives and forms a covering that supports your journey. Sometimes God strengthens your faith not through new revelation, but through remembrance. He brings to mind a moment from years ago to remind you that He was faithful then and He's faithful now. He allows you to hear someone else's testimony to remind you that He is still performing miracles. He places you in the right environment so your faith can draw strength from the collective hope of those around you. Your journey is not small. Your battle is not unnoticed. Your faith is not overlooked. Heaven has been recording every moment where you chose belief over fear. Every moment where you held on to hope when disappointment tried to choke it. Every moment where you continued walking even when the path felt dim. These moments matter. They are shaping you. They are forming depth inside you. They are preparing you for a future filled with divine alignment and clarity. Testimony builds gratitude. Memory builds perspective. Community builds courage. Together they stabilize your heart in the seasons where patience feels thin. They remind you that waiting is not empty. It is a place where God has been speaking through history, through others, and through His quiet work in your spirit. Hold on to what He has done. Honor the stories of those around you. Let this truth strengthen your faith enough to stand steady. Breathe deeply and trust fully. The same God who shaped your past is guiding your present and preparing your future. And in that truth, your faith finds the strength to rise again. God's timing has never bowed to the pressure of fear, emotion, or uncertainty. It moves with precision, guided by a wisdom deeper than your understanding and a love stronger than your impatience. What He ordains unfolds at the exact moment when every piece has aligned, every lesson has matured, And every part of your heart is ready to hold what once felt distant. Nothing about your future is accidental. Nothing about your journey is random. Nothing about your process is wasted. The same God who carried you through silence, delay, stretching, and refining is the God who now speaks assurance over your path. His hand has never left you. His eyes have never turned from you. His purpose has never shifted away from your life. The seasons that felt slow were seasons where heaven was building what your eyes could not yet see. The doors that stayed closed were doors that protected you from burdens disguised as blessings. The moments that felt quiet were moments where God was working beneath the surface, orchestrating alignment that required time. Divine timing is not the result of chance. It is the unfolding of a promise crafted before you ever prayed for it. What you thought was delayed was being prepared. What you thought was forgotten was being shaped. What you thought was silent was being arranged. God has always been moving. Even when you felt still, the pace of His plan is the protection of your destiny. The rhythm of His timing is the shield around your future. Look at the journey you have walked. You have endured seasons that stretched your patience, but they produce endurance. You have faced moments that tested your trust, but they deepened your faith. You have carried questions that felt heavy, but they pushed you toward clarity. You have waited longer than you expected, but waiting shaped strength you did not know you needed. You are standing here not by accident, but by formation. When God moves, He does not move halfway. He completes what He begins. He fulfills what He speaks. He finishes what He authors. The timing of your breakthrough has been held securely in His hands, untouched by fear and untouched by delay. What belongs to you cannot be taken. What was written for you cannot be erased. What God ordained for your life is not vulnerable to the rise and fall of circumstances. It is anchored in His sovereignty. There is a moment appointed for everything God promised you. A moment where the pieces converge. A moment where clarity replaces confusion. A moment where what was hidden becomes visible. When that moment arrives, it will not feel forced. It will not require striving. It will not demand panic. It will carry peace. It will carry certainty. It will carry a quiet knowing in your spirit that this is the time you were being prepared for all along. God's perfect timing does not rush you. It ushers you. It lifts you into alignment with grace instead of strain. It opens doors without effort. It releases provision without fear. It brings opportunities that fit the version of you He has been shaping. Nothing will arrive too early. Nothing will arrive too late. Everything will arrive in its fullness. The story you carry is not defined by delay. It is defined by design. God has designed every step you have taken, every moment you endured, and every whisper of hope that kept you anchored. He has been present in every silent prayer, every night of uncertainty, and every day where faith felt thin. His timing has carried you even when you did not recognize its strength. Now let this truth settle deeply. You have not missed your moment. You have not fallen behind. You are not outside of God's plan. You are exactly where you should be for what He's preparing to unfold. The weight of waiting did not weaken you. It readied you. The stretching did not break you. It expanded you. The silence did not abandon you. It strengthened you. As you step forward, carry the assurance that God's timing is still guiding every detail of your life. Carry the peace that comes from knowing that what is meant for you is already on its way. Carry the confidence that your steps are being ordered with precision and care. Carry the hope that every seed planted in faith is rising toward its appointed season. May your heart find rest in the truth that nothing is late in God's hands. May your spirit find strength in the process that shaped you. And may your path be filled with the quiet confidence that the future God is preparing will arrive with beauty, alignment, and perfect timing.